Hello, everyone. Welcome to our Navigating the Grace Hopper Celebration and Tapia Conferences student panel. We were really excited that, we were able to send so many students to both conferences this past year, with both conferences being virtual this past year. And so we have some great students here with us today across the different campuses, from the Boston campus to the West Coast campuses, and across undergraduate and graduate students and across different programs, here to share their experiences and just share more about just what they learned, tips and advice for those of you in this session today who might be interested in attending one of these conferences in the future. And so we have some questions to ask our panelists. We'll have some time for them to share some introductions. And then towards the end, we'll have a chance for you all to join some breakout rooms with some other students who've been to the conferences before, so that you can have some small group time to, again, engage in some conversations and get your questions answered and share some more of your perspectives. And so I just wanted to quickly just share into the chat, for those interested, just the Grace Hopper Conference and the Tapia Conference websites, just so that you have that for reference in terms of the resources that are provided on there, and it provides more information about next year's dates already as well. And so for those of you who are interested, you can see that information there. And so at this time, I'm going to pass it over to our panelists, and I'll open it to all panelists, including the ones who are going to be in the breakout rooms, to maybe introduce yourself with your name, your pronouns, if you're an undergraduate or graduate, and what program you're in, your major if that applies to you, and which conference you attended. And so I'm just gonna, we can do a popcorn style. I'm just gonna hand it off to Ella, since that's the first person I see on my screen.
Hi, I'm Ella. I'm an undergraduate first year. I'm majoring in cybersecurity. My pronouns are she, hers, and I attended the Grace Hopper Conference for the first time. I'll pass it on to Kate.
Hi, I'm Kate. I'm a graduate student on the Seattle campus in computer science. And this was also my first time attending Grace Hopper. I use she, her pronouns. Sorry, I should pass it on. Nasara.
Hi. So my name is Mazira. I'm a computer science graduate student, and I'm here in Boston, and I attended the GHC conference, and my pronouns are she and her. And pass it out to Nidhi.
Hi, everybody. I'm Nidhi. I am a graduate student in computer science at the Boston campus. I attended the Grace Hopper Celebration this year, and my pronouns are she and her. I'll pass it on to Tiffany.
Hi, everyone. My name is Tiffany. I am a master's CS student, and this is my third semester, and I attended a Tapia conference, and my pronouns is she, her. I'll pass it to Stefan.
Hi, I'm Stefan. I'm an undergraduate computer science major at the Boston campus, and I'm in my third year, and I attended the Tapia conference for the first time. I can pass it on to Akanksha.
Hello, everyone. I'm Akanksha. I am a Master's of Computer Science student. I am located in Seattle campus. I attended Tapia for the first time, and this is my last semester. I'll be graduating this December. I use she, her pronouns, and I would pass it on to William.
Hi, I'm a Alliance student in the Seattle campus. This is my second year. I just want to know some information about how you guys, or the experience of the GHC and Tapia for you guys.
Awesome, thank you. And I think that's all the panelists, unless I'm mistaken. And if you're a participant, feel free to introduce yourself as well, maybe in the chat. You put your name and what program you're part of, what campus, and what brings you here to our session today. And we start to get to know you and your perspectives. And so we can go ahead and move into some of our questions for our panelists. And, certainly during this time, please feel free to continue to ask your questions. Feel free to use the reaction, the hands up feature, or type into the chat. And then sometimes I know that some folks don't feel comfortable sharing their questions. So feel free to, direct message myself or Meg, and we're happy to answer or ask your questions on your behalf as well. So a couple different ways for you to engage and make sure that your questions are answered. All right, so without further ado, we just have a couple of questions to start off for our panelists. And so for anyone who would like to respond, why were you interested in attending GHC or Tapia?
I can go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead. All right. So I attended Tapia, as I spoke before, and I had very specific reasons why I wanted to attend. One, because I wanted to learn about diversity even more, because Tapia is mostly focused on diversity and inclusion. And I learned quite a lot there. I could find how smallish things that you can write in your code and small gestures that you make, how much impact, like how huge an impact it can have for accessibility. And the second reason I wanted to attend was career talks as well as the career fair. So I learned quite a lot about how the current trends in technology are going, how different software developers are, using different solutions to solve a problem. And lastly, the career fair to meet employees like from different companies, and that to have like a one-on-one chat, that was a wonderful experience and like something new I got an experience on. That's about it from my side. Sorry.
I was similarly motivated to attend Grace Hopper. I think I was kind of in the midst of internship applications. So for sure, I was interested in the opportunity to talk directly with recruiters about the kind of opportunities and a similar kind of research about what companies are going to be attending things like Grace Hopper and who are prioritizing, Grace Hopper is focused on women, so like gender representation in their company. Because I think as far as career planning goes, like not only knowing what companies are going to show up there, but also listening to some of the talks and hearing like, oh, this is the kind of leader that these companies have. This is the kind of culture where I think I would thrive. I was really interested in learning more about that and answering those questions as I'm trying to carve out my career path.
For myself, I kind of had a bit of a softer approach. It was my first like Northeastern kind of event. It was before I'd set foot on campus at all. And while I'm not exactly charging forward on a career path at the moment, I think that's why I wanted to attend Grace Hopper. I'm really passionate about cybersecurity, and I wanted to get the chance to actually meet people that both could relate to like my own identity and experiences and get to know what it actually means to do cybersecurity. So I just wanted to kind of explore and see what was out there.
Yeah, I can go next. So I attended Grace Hopper Celebration, and it was my first time. So I had no clue, rather than just talking to a few people before on how it's going to be. But all the responses that I always got was, you can meet amazing people, you can connect with them, and they'll be there to help you out even tomorrow. Like, those connections that you make in any conference like this just goes way outside the conference forever. They'll probably be on LinkedIn, and they'll be happy to help you in future, because all the women who came in like for Grace Hopper kind of just highlighted the fact that, okay, women in technology is not something very common, or if it's there, it's still like an imbalance between how many women are there and how many men are there. So they are ready to help you in any way possible to make sure that your career moves forward and you have the right opportunities. So I just was very like excited to experience it, to see how powerful like the conference is and how much can it inspire you when you listen to so many people talk about their career paths, their difficulties, and how so many people attend this conference every year. So it's like every year it's still a different experience. It's not like the same thing that goes over and over again. So yeah, that was pretty much what I was looking forward to when I applied for it.
Everyone so far. So for the next question I have, so did the conference meet your expectations? I think this also ties to the questions around, what was it like to navigate in a virtual conference, and what advice would you give to other students who might be interested in attending a virtual conference in the future?
I can start. I'm hoping that this conference is in person in the future and that I can attend in person, but I haven't before, so I can't really speak too much to the pros and cons, but I know that some of the challenges I faced with the virtual conference were, there were a number of like just technical issues that happened. Like for example, if anyone tried to attend the meetups, that didn't really work, like getting into the right room at the right time. And from the recruiters that I did talk to, I heard that from their end, the company is trying to schedule the meetings for people to sign up for. They had a lot of difficulties there. So it's not so much advice as kind of like there still are challenges with the platform that hopefully will either be resolved or it'll be in person again, so it won't be a problem. But I think bringing like patience to that, or like understanding like, oh, if they think that there's going to be a sign up window here, maybe still try to be checking back, because maybe those signups are going to keep coming. Like, and I also think that that experience of kind of walking around a conference and just jumping into conversations with people wasn't really available. At least I didn't successfully talk to anybody in that way. The people I talked to were all scheduled meetings, and you kind of had to like sign on right at the right time to try to sign up, and then like keep checking because they would fill up really fast. So my biggest piece of advice is like really go after those like one-on-one conversations with recruiters, because those were super beneficial, both for getting prioritized with an application if you're looking for an internship or a job, and also for learning more about the roles. That like you just learn so much more about what you're walking into than just reading a job description. And so prioritizing trying to set up for those meetings in the virtual environment.
I think I faced a similar issue like it. I think navigating within the platform was a huge setback. I think the suggestion that I would give is make a list of the companies that you really want to target. And because there's so many sessions, there's so many talks, there's so many one-on-one meetings that you can attend, and to really schedule it in like your Google Meet or something like that, to keep a calendar, and then to keep like a 5-minute break between talks, because it can get exhausting. That would be a great thing. And also these sessions, as Kate said, it gets filled up really fast. So I think I missed out on multiple sessions on the first day, but then I had to keep track of when it would open up, and then make a list of the companies or the talks that I want to really attend, and then subscribe to them for the next day.
Yeah, I want to add to that. So definitely I would hope that it's in person next year, because I want to check, I want to like see and experience the different kind of the experience of a conference being where everybody is just together. However, something that I think was that worked out for me was I've heard that when it's on the conferences at a place, it's just like so huge that it's a struggle to move from one place to another even when you want to talk to people. But this, at like this point, there were sponsor booths that kind of really helped me when I could just like, click in, and if somebody's there, I could just go and talk to them and come back. Definitely the impact could be very different, but it's still something that I personally like benefited from, since booking a slot for recruiters was such a fight, and you could like everybody said, it's so everybody missed on some company. But the sponsor booths were open, like, and um, I just went on, just talked about everything about the company, to like tech, their culture, their experience, with something which is something that a recruiter is not really looking for. So if you just want to know more about the company, I think the sponsor booths kind of helped me, because there was like a list of about 100 plus companies, and I hardly knew like the top ones. So it's like more trying to see if my interests align to their requirements. So that kind of worked for me.
Thank you everyone for sharing. Certainly both pros and cons in terms of thinking about a virtual experience and also an in-person experience as well, hearing from both sides. So that's all helpful. Thank you everyone for sharing. I have a question in the chat from one of the students, and they were asking about, I have a question on if there is any sponsorship that we can apply to for going to these conferences. So yes, so there are sponsorships and scholarships that you can apply directly from both of these organizations and through a lot of different conferences if there's another one that you're interested in. And then also, Corey, we sponsor students to go to both of these conferences every single year. And so there's an application process, and maybe one of our panelists can speak to that experience, since everybody who's a panelist here was sponsored by Corey to be able to attend one of these conferences. And so maybe one or two people would like to speak about the application process and maybe what we asked and what that experience was like for you all.
For myself, I remember giving it a shot in the dark because I didn't know like priority-wise what would happen. It was a good shot in the dark. But I remember some of the questions ended up getting me excited for the conference itself. I didn't even know much about the Grace Hopper conference, just that it sounded really awesome. And one of those questions was looking back on the conferences from 2019, or the past couple of conferences, please choose like one or two that you would have gone to if you could go, in person and be a participant. And I remember like scrolling through some of the participants and seeing like the first, like the founder of cybersecurity in like for the, the American government. And I was like, that is insanely cool. And I didn't even realize like who would be here. I didn't realize how big the conference was. And so going through the process and like the application forcing me to kind of like do a little research and just kind of like browse, got me really excited and hopeful about that shot in the dark. So getting to do that application wasn't like insanely stressful so much as it was just like, you're actually like kind of looking to what you're signing up for. Like, if you want to be here, like show that, you care about like what's about to happen, and there are experiences here that if you take, advantage of, they're going to be really beneficial to you.
I'll add that a really cool element of being sponsored through the college was the Teams chat that I think maybe Julie, you set it up, but just having kind of the area to ask questions and sort of like meet the other Northeastern students. And actually a number of people I ending up in like a direct message chat with through that Teams channel about what recruiters I talked to and how it went and what applications we're doing and stuff. And I thought that was like a really nice kind of community, especially with the conference being virtual, to sort of have that as a way to touch base with other students that are in a similar position from Northeastern was a really nice part of being sponsored through the college.
I'd like to add to that. So I actually put down an application through the GHC portal itself. for the sponsorship. So through the portal, they would ask you a little bit about yourself when you're graduating, if you want a student, or if you want to be, if you're a professor, what kind of role you're playing in this GHC conference, and what kind of activities are you seeking? So are you seeking only like the conferences or the career fair and so on and so forth? You do have about 2 essay questions. And following that, you have a letter of recommendation that your professor has to submit. And they would be asked, I think, a question or two about you. And so when it came to Koi College, I think the application process was much more simpler and easier because there were about 4 questions. They asked you things like how you would benefit from this conference and how you would benefit the community itself by going to this conference, what this conference means to you, and what kind of talks inspired you from 2019 or the previous years of this conference.
Perfect. Thank you, everyone. And thank you for also providing that context around if you were to apply directly through GHC and Initiative Board as well. That's helpful insight too. So thank you for sharing that. And then someone else asked along the same lines, is the application process different through the college? And if I'm interpreting your question correctly, there is one application for both GHC and Tapia, and we ask you to indicate which one you prefer or which one you have a preference for, and we take that into consideration. But it's one centralized application for both of these conferences. And we're actually hoping in the future to expand on this conference application so that you have other options beyond just GHC and Tapia for those who might be interested in going to other conferences as well. We know there's like other ones, especially in that DEI equity space like Afrotech and all those, that we want to make sure that, you know, students have the option to attend as well. And so we're happy to speak more about that as well in the future. All right, so another question that I have for our panelists, let's see. Can you please share something unique that you learned at the conference, or if there was a favorite session that you had or some takeaway that you had at the conference?
Yeah, I can start. I think there was multiple things that happened that worked out for me. One being not only there are women who talk about how good they are at tech or at what position they are at, like at companies and how they've grown. There are also people who talk about the struggles that they had probably personally or in like their lives that they kind of, you know, got through and now they are accomplished or wherever they are, how their struggle has been. One particular session that I attended was from Payal, I guess, Payal Kadakia. I'm not sure about her full name though. So she was the CEO of ClassPass, which is one of, I think, mobile app at this moment where you can practice, you know, exercise or dance with exercise kind of format. I personally liked her session because she is somebody who dropped her job and now she's in tech and she's doing like owning her own company. The thing that kind of inspired me out of that was I feel being a technologist, we always have companies that we go for and we have dream companies, but entrepreneurship and doing something on our own is also a good path to go forward, which is not very common out there. At least probably I haven't met a lot of people, you know, who are like readily quitting their job, going forward, starting something on their own. And she talked about how financially she had some struggles and then how it did not go well at the beginning when she like, you know, came out with her idea. And then because of the pandemic, kind of things shifted for her and then now everything's virtual. So that was one of the talk which said like, which is basically that if you don't like your job, you kind of, you know, need to switch. And if it's something that you want to pursue, this is the time and there's nothing to lose. And her story was inspiring for me because probably at some point in life, I would want to do something on my own. So kind of just helped me like, you know, see that somebody's out there who's done something similar and it's not a bad idea to do something like that. So that was one of my experiences.
I also thought hearing from a lot of women and about their journey was a fun part of the conference, but there were also some kind of contextual, like technical topics that I really appreciated. Like there's a lot of buzzwords that I think I sort of didn't really know what that meant or hadn't really like Kubernetes. Like I don't think I'd really ever been exposed to that. So just kind of like, these are the topics that people are talking about. Here's an introduction of like what it is, why you should care, why employers are looking for this, why companies are using this. And there were several places that showed up. I also thought that some of the like how to contribute to open source stuff on the last day, like also from kind of just a technical knowledge standpoint, was really helpful, because I'm absolutely somebody that was in the category of like very intimidated by contributing to anything open source and like not really sure how to get started or look at it or what to do. And I think that was like a really nice sort of tutorial, like series of tutorials to help get an introduction to that. So I wouldn't write off any of kind of the more like technical class type things that they offer at the conference in the future, because I found those to be helpful.
When it was on like the first day, and I was just kind of getting into the conference for the Grace Hopper conference, and I had joined this cybersecurity talk. I had happened to get into like one of the kind of like have a chat talks before the Zoom kind of capped off, and we kind of went to breakout rooms. It was very random, like you just chose to go into a breakout room. So there's, an initial awkwardness, and I ended up choosing one that had maybe like 5 people in it. There were others that had maybe 30. I don't know how they worked exactly, but I ended up being in a room with a woman who was kind of like mid-career as a cybersecurity analyst, and I got to talk with her like one-on-one for 40 minutes. We went over the time we were allotted, and she ended up giving me the most invaluable advice I have like to date received about like actually being interested in cybersecurity. She was teaching me about certificates that, you don't get in a college education, but are essential, and, in the career force. And so getting to talk like one-on-one with someone that will kind of give you unfiltered, advice, recommendations, like timelines, that was something that I feel like I'm constantly asking for, and it's really hard to kind of get that unfiltered. So that was an amazing kind of opportunity. And my other favorite keynote was with Haben Jerma. She was both deaf and blind, and graduated from Harvard Law, and is just like a trailblazer. And the way that she framed talking about accessibility, and in saying that, her disability isn't what prevented her or like would be a roadblock for her. It was the kind of mentality of like the world around her that like made everything only for those able-bodied to access. And the kind of the way that she framed it, something that like in a mentality I didn't realize I had, was very pivotal for kind of changing how I thought about accessibility in tech. So that was a really profound speaker for me.
I just want to add one more thing. There was a few sessions that I attended. They spoke about having a mentor, and it's so important that you find the right mentor for you, who is not somebody who probably you work with, but somebody who is just more experienced and has some similar interest, or somebody who's just ready to mentor you through your career path. And it can be anybody who is in tech, who's not in tech, but somebody who can, just help you through your difficulties while you are trying to figure out what you want to do next. And that was something that I really believe is a good advice, because I feel that it's always nice to have somebody, you know, who can understand and help you through their own experience. And while I say this, Grace Hopper actually also provides a platform where you could sign up as a mentor or as a mentee, and they match you with somebody. So that's also a good opportunity that I saw. Even after the conference, you can get connected with somebody and just start your mentorship journey with whoever you matched with.
And thank you so much, everyone. And before we move to the next part of the session, just wanted to open up any last insights or words of wisdom or advice that our panelists would like to share with the group.
I kind of want to say one thing. So for Tapia, since it was virtual this time, if in case it's again virtual next time, there's one thing that I think I and some other folks also missed on. It was that on the first day, we had a lot of events, but none of us were able to attend it because we didn't know that we had to specifically sign up for those events before we could go into those. So I would suggest whoever that's attending, please make sure if that is a requirement, please do sign up for whichever events you want to attend on day -1 so that you have the access. And also while signing up, don't think so much about which event to sign up for and which not. Let's say there are 10 or 20 events at the same time. Just sign up for maybe 2 or 3 of those. You will still have the leverage to go and attend an event, and maybe meanwhile you want to break off and just leave the room and join another event. That's one advantage that we have when it's virtual.
Yeah, I already said I think prioritizing meeting with recruiters, but I think maybe like sharing an example of how that can be really helpful was like I ended up meeting with a recruiter from Strava, which is like which is a running app about a machine learning internship. And I had previously thought like it might be a cool company, but I didn't think to really like I wanted to learn more, but it wasn't a high priority application for me. And after talking to the recruiter, I learned that their machine learning team is 2 women, and that's the whole team. And for me, that's like the dream, like a small team. Like that would be like the most ideal internship position where you kind of get to get your hands in everything. And I would never have known that from the job description, right? So like, and then I knew like, oh, I really think this is a cool company, even though they're in California, even though like these other things that maybe made them less desirable, I learned to prioritize it. And I had several encounters like that, both directions, where recruiters really gave me a lot of information that I never would have gotten from anyone but a recruiter. And so taking advantage of those one-on-ones as much as possible, I think is a great idea.
To add to that, like if you're attending any company's booth, make sure to also read about a little bit about the company before you speak with someone in that booth, because sometimes they might even ask, like if it's a recruiter, they might ask like, do you even know about this company, or what makes you excited about being here, or what is it that you want to learn more? So if you could like have some context beforehand before talking to someone at the company, it would really be good.
I'd like to add to that. So apart from GHC being a networking place, there's a lot of interviews that take place as well. And I kept thinking that I had to just make a list of the sessions and the companies that I want to, and the recruiters that I want to talk with. But then the piece of advice that I got is to actually apply to those jobs prior hand, to reach out to the recruiters, whoever is attending those conferences, to build that connection beforehand. So when you have that one-on-one session with them, or maybe you even get an interview request during the GHC event. And also a lot of companies have like, I think you can apply to their applications, job applications. They have like conferences written in the job tag. As well as if you just go and apply to any job online, they even ask you a question, how did you get to know about this job? And you can always select the conference that you applied, and they would give you that leverage and call you to that event and have that interview during that session.
Thank you so much, everyone, for your insights so far. And so I'm going to pass it off to my colleague Meg for the next session, or part of our session.
Awesome. Thanks, everybody. So I hope you all got some good insight. It looks like a couple people had to drop off. So I'm thinking we're going to just do 2 breakout rooms. We'll do one for anyone who is interested in asking questions about GHC and one for Tapia. So I'm going to launch those and hopefully I can name them. And so I'll just ask our panelists to go to the breakout room. I think I can rename them and then you can choose it. Yep. So let me just do that. So the first one will be GHC and then the second one will be Tapia. We'll give you maybe about 15 minutes just so we can come back and then, you know, answer any final questions. If you start in one but want to pivot to the other, just come back to the main room and we'll move you. So I'm going to open those now. I'm also going to broadcast some of the prompts that we have. So I'll do that about every 5 minutes, but feel free if you've got other questions, ignore the prompts if you've got other ideas. But if you don't have any ideas, you can use the prompt. So that's open now. Are you all able to see those and move yourselves? Is that popping up for you all? If it's not, just take yourself off mute and we can manually move you.